went a little 6.1, and then now it kind of calmed down. Now we're doing 3 knots.
Hey, honey.
All right, we have an exciting video for you today. We've been wanting to make this video for a long time. We are going to make the same trip in this boat and in our Powerboat. We're Jason and Susie. In 2019, we bought Not Enough and learned how to sail her. After fixing up the boat, it was time for something bigger. While our new sailboat Envision has brought us new challenges, it also brings bigger adventures. We want to share those adventures with you, so join us as we have Adventures in Paradise.
Well, as many of you know, we have 2 boats, and so we thought, well, we should actually look at the pros and the cons to each one of them and really look at it. So we decided that we would take a trip on each boat to where we normally go on a day trip and kind of compare the 2 and see what the 2 different experiences really are like.
So we totally want to say up front, disclaimer, we know this isn't sailing across an ocean or going to the Bahamas. That's not going to work on our little Powerboat. It's just comparing one day out on both kind of boats so that maybe people don't have a boat yet, or they have one and are thinking about the other. This is the difference. Alright, the most extensive thing about powerboating day is getting the boat ready to leave the house, getting our bathing suits on, and getting the cooler packed full of beer. Well, in the Powerboat, we don't think too much about the wind, just to make sure we're not going out on a day that has tons of thunderstorms or a small craft advisory. And in the sailboat, it's vital. The wind plays a huge role in your day. We look at a couple apps for that, Sail Flow for the general wind, and Windy to kind of see what's going to happen during the day through time. In this particular day, we're going to be heading north on a beam reach under the drawbridge, and then we'll head up northwest. Well, the wind will be kind of a broad reach behind us. We'll get up to anchor, and then the weirdest thing happens. The wind just stops, turns around, comes back the other way. We'll come off anchor, head back with the wind the same on our sails, even though we're going in the opposite direction, all the way back home. Well, this is the whole at-home prep. No one covering a boat or any of that at home, just loading up the car and leaving. Not everyone will store their powerboat the same way. This is just our particular situation, but it sure does seem like a lot of work to do right before you spend the whole day on the water. All right, checking the oil. The Powerboat is a pretty simple machine. Just like a car, you check the oil, go in forward and reverse and steer. Most people can figure it out, and there's not a huge learning curve to it. Having a boat on a trailer means you can take it anywhere, and you get there fast because you can ride on the highway in your car, towing it behind. Well, it's a lot less stressful so far because we didn't spend all that time fixing up the boat and everything, or uncovering the boat and getting it all prepped. So a lot less tired, a lot less sweaty, and you know, feel nice and fresh, ready to hop on the sailboat. But there is some prep to do once we get on. Fuel. Everything looks good. We're starting our boat prep here at the dock. The sailboat is a beautifully complex machine, and there's a lot to learn before you even leave the dock. Okay. I could, for this trip, I could probably just use that Sharpie. Make sure you put beer and tequila in there. Now let's put this in the cup holder. There. Looks good. It's hard to find where the dipstick goes in here and you can't see it. So it's like a bunch of poking around. Which
Okay, do you have your phone?
Yeah.
Did you check the coolant?
Yeah.
We need to get gas.
Yep.
We need to get gas?
Yep. Yeah. I don't know.
All
I
right.
think it's in there.
I brought towels, snacks, trash. That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Better watch the talkies. Thinking about peeing first because I'll get to the Okay, looks good. I guess I can move up. See about that sail. I think the sail's going to be okay. Maybe you can. Cheers, Justin.
We are off. So there was one boat ahead of us here on the ramp, and they got in, they got it going, so then we were able to get in pretty quickly as well. Well, since we're doing our comparison on the pros and cons of the powerboat and the sailboat, thought of another con this morning. We just thought of a few things. One was a pro too, I can't remember at the moment, but we wrote it down. Anyway, one of the downsides is that sometimes people start to feel a little motion sick and you have to take something for it. We bring lots of stuff along, like we try to take ginger the night before. We have these little ginger crystals to make a drink. We have, what is that little watch looking like thing called, do you know?
Oh, it's like a motion sickness zapper or something. I don't know. It shocks your wrist.
And I've never used that, but I do use the C-bands sometimes. I've personally only felt seasick one time in this boat when we were out in the Gulf, and but Jason has felt it a few times, right?
Oh yeah.
Especially when we go out into the Gulf and it's rolly waves, or if we're just sitting there and we're going up and down a lot. So that's something that we don't really experience in the Powerboat.
There, that way.
If we could have done this all the same day, the Powerboat would now be passing the Sailboat on the water.
It's weird, the wind, it's like up and down, real windy, going 6 knots. Today we went a little, 6.1, and then now it kind of calmed down. Now we're doing 3 knots. If I'm being honest, I kind of prefer the 3 knots because it feels really relaxing.
Hey, honey!
The Powerboat isn't very tall, so we don't have to call the drawbridge operator to open it.
This is much easier on the back, I have to say.
It is. It's, you know, it's funny, they're both boats, but it is such a totally different experience.
Yeah.
You're on the water and you're in a boat. That's all that's the same.
We're relaxing. We're not partying hardy. It's not as exciting, but
That's true. It's more civilized, it feels like. It's like the civilized way to travel on the water.
Okay, Captain, I got a visual on you. Yeah, I'm going to get you a little bit closer. We're going to get you past that marker 7 or 15 there, and I will get that started for you.
Copy that. This is Envision standing by 09. Thanks. Well, alright. We called the bridge. He said to come on up. He saw me, and he'll open it when I get closer. But today's Sunday. This is a very popular island out there, and the traffic is really bad and the pedestrians are really heavy. So it sounded like he was going to open it up for us, though.
it's so intimidating when these boats come by.
Yeah, we got some wake coming in here. So there we go, look at this. It's gonna be good.
Now I know I always say that.
There we go.
Whoa, Nelly! How fast are we going?
We're going 30 miles an hour at the moment.
Woo! We made it. Our home away from home.
Okay, tighten it. Pull it in, actually. Yeah, we're just getting things anchored out here. Today's a little breezier than the average day. You know, if we weren't trying to make this video, there's a possibility we might have stayed home today. Pulling, yeah, oh yeah. Out there, yeah.
Wait.
All right, we're here, we're done anchoring. And anchoring today took us a little longer because when we first dropped the anchor, doesn't happen very often, but today we dragged, I pulled on the rail there as I walked back, and it dragged our anchor. So we had to drive back out there and slowly let it down. We must have just, you know, it might have been in some weeds or something like that. Right, we're pretty shallow here. We'll probably have another 6 or 8 inches under the boat. So that's one good thing about this boat, is that you're really just right here, and you don't, you can carry your cooler and your umbrellas and everything right in real easy. We are just riding along, kind of drinking our drinks, and you know, once in a while we go up and look at the water and look at other boats coming by, but it's been pretty relaxing. The time that we're going to arrive is changed by like 45 minutes when we get a puff of air, and it seems like when I looked on windy, it was 4 knots better over there and 4 knots better over there, but this couple mile area was a little slow. and we're only doing like 3.5 today. But doesn't matter, it's nice.
Chilling.
Well, we're sitting here on anchor, and many times we go on shore with an umbrella and all that. We'll go and set up like a big compound on the beach. But today it's just Susie and I, so we're gonna sit here, and it's kind of nice because we're down in here. We can close the window and not be in the wind. But you know, I'm a little bit wet now, and if you have to go to the bathroom, you get in the water, so you're gonna be a little wet. And then if you get a little chilly, there's really nothing you can do about it.
I'm pretty sure those same cormorants were on there yesterday as we went by on our powerboat. All right, so one plus point to having the powerboat is that if it's too windy outside and too windy on one side of the island, we can quickly and easily get over to the other side of the island. And I don't think we could do that with the sailboat because the depth. We had discovered that over on that one side was where we could go on the sailboat, but with this we can pretty much go anywhere.
Well, let's head back up again. Kind of speeding up, slowing down today, but we're gonna get up there with that weird wind thing where it's gonna go stop and then come back the other way. We're gonna get there about an hour before it stops and then heads the other way. It's kind of cool. We're kind of at a broad reach, wind coming from back here, and then when we get up there, the wind's gonna just stop for like an hour and then go the other way and give us another broad reach on the way back. Interesting. You know, so in our powerboat, we don't really care too much about the wind, other than if it's going to be like over 12 or so. It's just not fun to be out because the waves kick up and you get wet, and that's not as good of a day. Especially sitting on the beach in 12 or 15 knots is tough, just sitting out there in the wind like that. But otherwise, you don't really care about that too much, and it doesn't matter. But on the powerboat or on the sailboat, you know, it's obviously very important to have wind to get there and go back if you don't want to motor the whole way. But so we moved to the leeward side of the island, which in a powerboat you can do really fast. So we just zoomed right over here. We looked back and forth for a good spot, and even like 100 yards out, it's windy. But this is the Gulf of Mexico right here, and you know, there's no waves and there's no wind. So that's a benefit to this boat is, yeah, it's not nice to be out in the wind because it's a little bit more vulnerable than a bigger sailboat, but you can find places along little islands to kind of dip in and get out of the wind. Making some guacamole.
That's right.
Yeah, check it out. Not too shabby. Right now we're only going 2 knots. The wind's kind of low.
The sailboat kind of makes you think differently. It's just about enjoying the journey.
All right, so another benefit that we have to being on our powerboat is that we can set up these lovely chairs and an umbrella, and on this nice little island, of which we have quite a few over here, but this is one of the nicest because we get a really nice view of the Gulf and have a little bit of protection from these little trees and mangroves, but we can bring our chairs pretty easily.
In the cooler, which is really heavy.
Yes.
And our bag.
I don't know if we could do that with the sailboat, honey.
We'd have to dinghy in, and I mean, on some people's sailboat, they have big, like, inflatable dinghies that can probably hold all that with a motor, but ours, we have to row it, and we could fit all this on there. It would be ridiculous and not worth the time it took to do it. Plus,
Yeah.
we'd be like 150 yards offshore and have a long way to go. So there's, not for this. That's not what the sailboat's for.
Yeah.
I mean, technically it's not closed until May. We could walk to the end of the line there. Yeah, that's the only...
It's 1:02 and we just arrived. Jason is putting down the anchor. our depth finder isn't working, so we are erring on the side of caution and just going to the spot where we were at before. We've come here one other time before when we were at the old marina, so we came in from the other side, but we know that it's deep enough here. We don't want to get too much closer to the island because the tide is still going down a little bit, and without a proper depth gauge, we don't want to run aground. So here we are.
Well, we just set the anchor and we're here. You know, it sucks that the depth finder didn't work today. Couldn't see what we're anchored in, but luckily I could see my old position from last time we were here. There comes a little yacht over there. We have our lunch that we're gonna eat here. Well, you know, yeah, we can get out of the sun this way, and we have a nice little cabin here to relax in. Totally different experience, but it's fun. Feels like your own little island.
Yeah, one of the definite pros to having a sailboat is having this cabin, because then that comes with it a whole lot of other pros, like the stove, the bathroom. You can sit inside if there's bad weather. Can't get out of the weather in the powerboat.
Anything in the middle of summer here in Florida, it can be too hot to do this though.
Yeah.
So, but in the cooler weather, when it's not as fun to be out in the powerboat, this is perfect.
Yeah.
When we've entered into that weird time when there's no wind that we looked at on the Windy app, so there's not really air flowing through here like there usually would be, which is really nice, because as long as air is flowing through, it feels good, but then when it stops, it's not as nice.
We pulled up the anchor and we're just drifting along as we get the Genoa out here, and you'll see the water on the side of the boat starts to move by fast as we take off downwind. We've left the island. We're doing about 3.5. Another broad reach. Susie's playing Wordle. And I'm just sitting here watching the boats go by. All right, we're leaving now. After the fun day out on the boat, it's time to go back. Let's start that journey now. I understand, no problem. Standing by, no time. Thank you. Vessel and vision. We're all clear. Thank you.
You're welcome, Captain.
Made it through the drawbridge. And we're hitting 4.6 right now. The wind picked up a little bit, so we're making a little better time. It's really nice too. It cooled down a lot. Feels really good. It's a beautiful temperature to be out here.
Second sheriff's boat we've seen. I wonder what's happening.
It's a nice sailboat.
It is a nice sailboat.
One of the good things about this boat, the sailboat, is that it only burns, I mean, doing this whole boat we did today, we only turned the motor on for like, I don't know, 2 minutes to leave the marina, probably 5 to 7 minutes at the drawbridge, and then we actually turned it on when we got to anchor. So I don't know if it might have been on 20 minutes or so, but it only burns a half a gallon an hour, so we didn't even burn a half a gallon of fuel. Our Powerboat burns just at up on plane going, just as slow as you can go fast. In other words, we're not just idling, but we're up on plane. It's about 7 to 9 gallons an hour, and that's a very efficient boat. There's many boats that burn way more than that. But of course, you get there in half an hour, so you might burn 79 gallons altogether, but so much more fuel. And then if you're going full throttle in our Powerboat, you'll burn 17 gallons an hour. That's a lot of fuel. So, and you'd only go an hour and a half and you'd be out of fuel. You'd run the tank dry in an hour and a half at full throttle. So that's one of the differences. Some cheese, some salami, what's that? More of the same. A lot of time has gone by since we last saw you, but nothing new has happened. We had our cheese and crackers and drank another water, and that's it. Just chilling.
Alright, so here we don't have to tidy up the lines too much. We just kind of throw them in here, and when we get home we clean everything up, make it all nice and neat, wash things we need to wash. Just gotta get this thing strapped down and windows closed and whatnot.
Check back here for any seaweed. Got the ratchet straps on. We're all good. And we're approaching our marina. We're not off the hook that easy. We still have 30 or 40 minutes to get the sailboat all put away. But it doesn't feel as hard as the Powerboat because you're not having to finally be home and then get out the hose and spend 30 or 40 minutes washing and putting away the Powerboat. Plus, you're just not as beat up and worn out after a day on the sailboat because, let's face it, most of the time you're just kind of relaxing. It's really nice that when you're done with a day on the sailboat, when you walk through your front door, the only thing you have to do is maybe put a few things away from your bag and take a shower. Well, we're about halfway home. We only live about 10 minutes from the marina, but after a long day, I mean, we've been going for quite a while. We got up at, we left the house around 9:30? 10? And it's now 4 o'clock. And you're tired being in the sun and everything, but we're not done yet.
Not over yet.
Not over yet.
Time to clean the boat.
Yeah. Got a nice salty sheen on the side of the boat to wash off. Okay. Okay. As you can see, there isn't one of these boats that doesn't require a whole lot of work to use it. And maintenance on both can be daunting and expensive, but it's all about enjoying yourself out on the water. And anything in life gets to be expensive. Anything in life worth doing requires a lot of effort, and these boats are no different. I don't know if we've decided if there's one that's better than the other,
They certainly do their own things best, the thing they're intended to do. We have to try and leave the boat uncovered, or at least only loosely covered, with all the wet lines out, at least overnight, so they can dry out well. Otherwise, they stay wet for a long time once we put the good cover on the boat.
Can't walk side by side.
In the car, leaving the marina from the sailboat. We're home, it's 5:12. That's it, done. Nothing else to do. Sometimes we think it'd just be easier to have an old ratty pontoon boat in the marina, just ready to go so we could avoid this part.
Well, now that we've gone through all of this, what do you think? What are your final thoughts?
After a little more discussion, we decided that there's probably something out there that has all the pros and a lot less of the cons of both boats. And we don't want to give too much away, but that's where we ended up. That's it. We're gonna sit here, drink our drinks, watch the sunset.
Cheers.
Cheers.